Hello and welcome to another video on the Grimwood Watch Modern channel, and today I have a fine selection of bronze watches in front of us. All of these are out of my very own collection. The only reason I've got them here is to basically show how much I do like bronzed case watches. I've got some cheaper variants such as the Helm Dollar Mass 62 homage that I've got on my left here, all the way up to the Z-Losses, which are slightly more expensive, but god, they look absolutely beautiful. I've even got one of my modded Helm Dollar / Seiko bronze turtles over here to the right. But it's just such a lovely material and I absolutely adore it. And today I have actually got my hands on this lovely bronze watch from the Wicked Watch Company, and I am very excited about this watch. I've actually been on a journey with this watch through the design. I've actually talked to the designer and the CEO of the company throughout the process. I've even got one of the early prototypes, the Pearl Diver, right here, which I did a review on quite a few months back. This is basically, hopefully, the final iteration of the piece, and it's in bronze. So without further ado, let's crack open the watch roll and see what's inside. Before I get into the video, I just want to point out a couple of things. First one is, this is a prototype, so there'll be a couple of changes here and there between this watch and the actual production models. A lot of it concentrating on quality, etc, etc, but to be honest, for a prototype watch, this is absolutely amazing in my mind, and also a few changes to the packaging. And in fact, the designer actually / CEO, Pascal, actually sent me 2 pages of A4 with information of changes, basically some useful bits as well, and some background, which is actually very well received for doing these videos. It is very handy to have. But without further ado, let's have a look what's in the watch roll. First thing is, I love this roll. I love the little weight on the end of the leather tassels. I don't know if you call them tassels, but I like the termination tassels. I don't know why. Do not put in the comments why, I might, but hey ho. So first things first, I do have a couple of mod parts that came with this watch as well. I've got a couple of nice knurled SKX crowns there, which will be going onto a mod. I'm going to test them very nicely. They also do mods, Wicked Watch Company, so do look out for them. There's a nice little polishing rag there as well. However, the main part of this is the watch, and just look at this. I'm not kidding you. This here is the Pearl Diver from Wicked. 200 meters water resistance. This one has a lovely forged carbon dial, as you can see there. We've got a lovely vintage style loom, and the loom is absolutely amazing on this watch, I will show you. But all in all, it just looks absolutely stunning. And as you can see by this leather strap, I have worn it for a good week, literally constantly, just to test it out. And you know what? I very much like this watch. So with the initial kind of viewing out the way, let's get into the specifications and go from there. As always, let's start off with the specifications. So we've got a case diameter of 40mm, we have a case thickness of 14mm, we've got a lug to lug of 46mm, and we've got a lug width of 22mm. The movement in the back of this watch is an NH35, which is actually sourced from Seiko themselves, so it actually comes direct from Japan. He's gone to the effort to do that. They're also going to be bringing out a Swiss movement version with an STP111, which is basically a variant. Well, it's based on the ETA 28-24 movement, so a bit higher performance there if you want to pay the extra bucks. We have 200 meters of water resistance. We've got a 120 click unidirectional bezel, which is fully loomed, and we also have screw down crown on the side with a nice bit of loom there. Overall weight of this watch, as it is now on the leather strap, is 100 grams, which, to be honest, size wise and weight wise, is pretty much spot on for what I like to wear. The leather itself is actually a genuine Italian leather piece, which is absolutely lovely. This one does stay at 22mm all the way down, which I quite like. However, in the production models, that will taper from 22mm down to 18 at the clasp, so that's one thing that will be different between this watch and the production models. So with all that out of the way, let's have a close look at the aesthetics and how this watch wears. So the first thing to me that strikes us about this watch is just how kind of unique it is, yet so familiar. I don't know what it is, but it's just such a kind of mix match of vintage vibe but modern kind of feel to it. I haven't got anything in my collection that is the same as this watch. I can honestly say that, bar the other prototype of this in stainless steel, which I absolutely adore, if I'm all honest. Now, we have in this variant a lovely carbon fibre forged dial in there. As we can see there, a carbon forged dial, and we can just see how it plays with the light. Now the only other watch in my collection that actually has this type of dial is my Zelos titanium swordfish, and it has a lot finer of a kind of fleck in it, as I would say, but I actually quite like having these lovely chunks of kind of carbon in there. As we can see, it's a lot thicker of a weave, as I would call it. Well, it's not a weave, but the way it's been pressed. Now moving up there, we have these markers going all the way around the outside with this vintage loom. Now all the loom on this watch is super luminova, and at one point Pascal actually pointed out all the way through the design of this watch was how he wanted basically the best loom on it, and these are actually 3D printed. Don't ask me how the process goes, but these are 3D printed onto the dial themselves. There is actually a bit of kind of depth to them as you look, and the variant I've got here is actually the old radium kind of styled vintage kind of look to them, so they're slightly patinaed, and the colour of them is actually just right. They're not too yellow, they're not too pink, it's just say patinaed enough for my liking. Now at the 12 o'clock we do have this kind of hourglass logo, which I quite like. We then have these lovely round indices going around, and then these lovely kind of tablet capsule ones at the 6 and the 9. We do have a date window at 3 o'clock. There is a possibility that this can be taken off. He is looking at a design where it's basically a no date version, which I quite like. I do like no date watches, even though it is a good function to have on them. Now the one thing that is, I won't say missing from the dial, because I think it works quite well, is a minute track. Now a few people out there, when I have done mods without minute tracks or chapter rings, have commented about, well, what about accuracy and all that? Well, in all honesty, if you want dead accurate watches, you wouldn't get a mechanical watch. It's just the way it is, and in all honesty, I can tell the time pretty much. It's easy, unless I'm going to the second by minute kind of timing, which I never am most of the day. It is more than adequate in my mind. And I think it keeps the dial kind of very simple, which is one of the best features I think about this watch. Moving up to the handset, which at the time I'm actually doing this video, I have decided to cross over, so I'll just move the minute and hour hand apart. We have this lovely pointed hour hand here, nice chunky kind of slightly cathedral looking with these two blips of loom at the tip, but it is nice and chunky. We have this sword minute hand going out here. Now the actual finish on these is a tad bit rough, and there's a few marks here and there, but yet again this is a prototype. These things will be sorted out in the production models. Moving up to the crystal, we have this lovely bit of domed sapphire crystal on top, which to be honest plays with the light very nicely. As you can see there, distorts the dial nicely, and there is a slight bit, if you can see there, of blue ER coating on, and it does work very well to take the glare off the actual crystal, which is very nice to see. And then we come to the actual bezel insert, and do you know what, this bezel insert's one of the best bezel inserts, well, personally one of the most liked I've had in my collection. As we can see here, it's raised up from the actual crystal itself. It actually sits more proud than the crystal, which I quite like, and it's very tactile, it's very nice to touch, and as you can see we have full loom all the way around it as well, in the same colour as the dial. 120 click unidirectional bezel. This is actually pretty dead on, it's very responsive, it's basically sits dead in place, there's no back play there whatsoever. But yet again, another point that kind of strikes us about the whole kind of front of this watch is bar the date window, there is actually no numerals on this watch. It just looks clean, it looks nice, it looks vintage for some reason. I don't know why, but it just does. Moving around to the actual bezel itself, as we can see, we've got these lovely cutouts on the side, very fine together there, very easy to grip, no issue there, and like I say, the bezel action is superb. And then we come to the actual case itself. Now this is one area that will be different on the production models. The finishing on this case is slightly more coarse than what it will be. However, it does look nice in my mind, and with bronze, a coarse finish actually patinas very, very nicely, because the grime and the grit actually gets into the grooves, and it gives like a very nice uneven patina, which I do quite like. The majority of it is, as you can see there, brushed all the way around. Personally, I would have liked to see a few little kind of accents picked out, maybe on the crown guards. If I actually bring in my swordfish, one of the things I do like with Zelos's bronze watches is there's a mixture of like brushed and also very slight polishing on some of the actual accents of the case, just to bring it out. So I would have liked that, but that's just my own personal preference. Coming to the crown guards, nice and chunky, as we can see there, the crown sits very nicely in them. However, there is a nice big kind of cutout at the top to get a nice grip on that there, and the crown comes out very nicely. Nice grips on the crown as well. Nice bit of loom on the side with that anchor motif that's basically carried through some of the design on this watch. So overall the case is actually pretty spot on. The other thing is the actual lugs here come down slightly to the wrist, so it does wear very nice. The actual strap itself wears very close to the wrist, which is a nice touch indeed. Moving over to the back of the case, we can see we have the lovely kind of dragon type motif on the back. I will put the name of what this actual creature is in this video underneath. It leaves my mind every step of the time, but it is absolutely lovely. This is going to change slightly looking at the descriptions in the paperwork. Same the actual logo kind of animal on it, but it's going to change in the way it's going to look. And obviously we have the information around like NH35, the bronze and all that, all the information around the outside of this screw down case back. So all in all, very nice indeed. And as always with a lot of these bronze watches, this is stainless steel, so you don't get any reaction with your skin. And here is the Wicked Watch Company's Pearl Diver on my 6 3/4 inch wrists. And what can I say? At 40mm case diameter and the 46mm lug to lug, it wears pretty much dead on my sweet spot. And at 100 grams, it is one of those watches that you will forget you're wearing on your wrist after a period of time. It melds into the wrist, I would say. And the leather strap is nice and supple, conforms perfectly to my wrist. The clasp's very nice on the bottom there. The only real gripe I have, which you notice more on the wrist, is the little gap in between the actual leather strap and the lugs. However, being the prototype, that's something that you would actually expect, so I have no gripes with the watch there. So all in all, very good feelings with it on my wrist, so let's continue. Lume wise, I've compared it against a Zelos Swordfish and also a Seiko mod I've done, and do you know what? It stands up very well indeed, and I would even say it does actually pip the Zelos to some margin via the eye and also on the video. So lume wise, this watch is very good indeed. Before I get into my final conclusions, just a quick disclaimer, which I should have really put at the front of the video but forgot. Now, being a reviewer, I do have the opportunity to grab one of the production models for free, which I'm absolutely over the moon about. However, I will be sad to see this prototype go, because I actually quite like the design cues of this, even though some of these bits won't be carried through the production model, such as the production model will actually have a 15-minute marker around the actual bezel to make it basically capable of being ISO certified, which it could be in the future, I've been told. But by the by, that's here nor there. So to be honest, this watch is absolutely amazing in my mind, especially for a bronze diver, because at the 40mm mark there's not many bronze divers out in the market at this kind of sizing, and it fits absolutely perfectly on the wrist. The strap's absolutely perfect, the actual clasp is great, the weight's spot on. And like I say, if you don't want the NH35 and you want to step up to a Swiss movement, you can do that. Now, the NH35 is actually going to come in at, I think, $215 at the super early bird offer on Kickstarter, and the Swiss variant will be coming in at $320, which, to be honest, I think is an absolute steal for both variants of the watch. But to be honest, I do like the NH35. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this movement, and it's a great workhorse and very cheap to, well, swap out if you ever need to. It's pointless servicing these movements because they're basically just cheap enough to buy and pop in yourself. So I absolutely love this watch, and look at that carbon dial, it's absolutely lovely. But enough for me ranting and raving on about this watch. What do you think? Please put in the comments. Would you like to buy one of these Wicked Watch Company's Pearl Divers, or would you save up for something else? Please comment below. If you have liked this video, please like, subscribe, and as always, keep safe, and I will see you soon.